Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Ready, Jigme?
Yep.
Give me 10 seconds, Mike. Hold on. 10
Okay.
seconds.
Okay. All right. Few seconds. Okay.
10
Right.
seconds.
Okay.
Just let me know when.
All right, we're good.
Okay, I'll start. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond Birding series here on the Asian Bird Fair online talks. I'm Mike Lu in Manila with Victor Yu in Taipei. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our guests will speak about the conservation of the black-necked crane and from the Royal Society for the Protection of Nature in Bhutan. Let us welcome Mr. Jigme Tshering. Jigme, how are you?
Hi, Victor. I'm good. Thank you.
Good. So everyone's excited to hear from you. And so if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll share my PowerPoint first. Yeah, greetings from Bhutan. Thank you very much, Asian Bird Fair, for organizing this event. Yeah, I'm Jigme, and I work at RSPN, as Victor introduced. So today I'm going to share a story, our story about black-necked crane conservation in Bhutan. And you can probably say that it's a sort of a success story which can be replicated in areas having similar situation where birds and habitats, their habitats face those kind of situations. So before I begin, if I may mention all our supporters, our donors, our partners around the world, local and regional and international partners, supporters, and because of whom, our conservation program so far has been successful. So we thank all these partners. So before I begin talk about the black-necked crane conservation, if I may quickly talk about the organization, the Royal Society for Protection of Nature. It was the organization was established in 1987 under the Royal Command of His Majesty. And those days, it was about monitoring the black-necked cranes, the number of cranes coming into the country, and looking after, the habitats there. But now RSPN has widened its focus area. The globe that you see here is, we call it a conservation mandala. The outer four points that you see here is actually the focus areas that we take it as our strength. So community engagement, environment education, species-based conservation, and monitoring and evaluation. So under the species-based conservation, currently we are looking after two species, the white-bellied heron and the black-necked crane, of course. So but today I'll be talking about the black-necked crane conservation. Well, to briefly describe about the species, the average height is about 1.3 to 4 meters of height. Weight is about 5.3 kilograms. And wingspan is about 2.3 meters. And they live up to, in the wild at least 30 to 35 years. And if you all know that, if in captivity, they even live longer. The one you see on the right, it's a adult black-necked crane with a red patch on its head, and head and neck are all black, and feathers, wings are also black. Rest of the body are white. And on the left, it's the juvenile black-necked crane. It's all ashy and gray color. They feed on all kinds of, they are omnivorous species. They feed on even fishes, frogs, and and also they look into the dropped grains and in the harvested fields. They use wetlands mostly for breeding and nesting, and of course also for roosting. They are found, their global distribution, they are mostly found in China, in the Tibetan Autonomous Region. They are divided into three populations, the Western, Central, and Eastern. The black cranes we find here in Bhutan are from the Western population. The global population as of now is estimated at around 13,000. In Bhutan, there are mainly three areas where they are found. Phobdikha and Khotokha in the central west, Jigme Tshering in the central, and Bundeling in the eastern Bhutan. But we also have sightings from other areas during the migratory period, and they can go way down to the southern border, Gelifu, which is about 300 to 400 meters above sea level. The population trend of black-necked cranes in Bhutan, if you look at it, the overall population trend is increasing. We have records from 1986 winter, 86-87 winter, where we had about 300, a little over, a little less than 400, but now we have like more than 600 black-necked cranes. One fun fact, Bhutan hosts the largest number of wintering black-necked cranes outside of China. So, but if you really look into, each of the sites, some of the sites are not doing good. The orange one is from Phobdikha Valley, which I am going to talk about today. It's the rest of the habitats, the black-necked crane, the number of black-necked cranes are decreasing actually, and I'll talk about why it's decreasing in my later slides. So the global conservation status until 2020, the black-necked cranes were classified as listed under, as near threatened in the IUCN's red list category. But now, I mean, until 2020, they were vulnerable. But now they are listed under near threatened because of the increasing the population. So why black-necked cranes? Why focus on the black-necked cranes? Why did we, focus on the black-necked cranes? Of course, there's these societal values, attached with the species because of their long lifespan. They are depicted in many of the paintings and all. And then one of the most famous one you all might be knowing is about these 6 symbols of longevity on the right, and all the 6. Among the 6, the bird longevity is represented by the black-necked cranes. On the left, these ladies are from Phobdikha Valley. They are doing this beautiful black-necked crane dance, a very old traditional black-necked crane dance. They represent many other species, and at the ecosystem, from the ecosystem perspective, they are the representatives of all those species. Because they feed on agriculture fields, they are also, we can consider them as the ambassadors for healthy agriculture landscape. Of course, they are the nature's treat, they can be readily observable. We can easily see them, and which helps in promoting ecotourism. So what's the issue? Why we are focusing? What were the issue? From the natural side, it's all about the habitats, their foraging sites. Their main foraging site is, of course, especially in the winter months. They feed in these post-harvested, the agriculture fields. And these two pictures are from our eastern habitat, which I showed you earlier, the graph, where the number of cranes have been decreasing since 1950s, 1990s. So what happened there was that this, the degradation of their foraging habitats through, flash floods of, washing away all these paddy fields where the cranes feed in the winter. And of course, there's this human-wildlife conflict where wildlife, damage the paddy fields, and then which discourages people to continue agriculture farming, and which shrinks the foraging grounds for the black-necked cranes. From the biological side, of course, there's these predators which preys on the black-necked cranes. There are mainly, we have noticed three main predators, wild predators: the common leopards, the yellow-throated martins, and foxes. This picture was captured back in 2010 in Phobjikha Valley, where you can see lakes and some part of the black-necked cranes being caught by the leopards. And on the left, this is an emerging issue, and I think that it's become a global issue now. The number of stray dogs harming the wildlife. And in Bhutan, in those black-necked cranes habitat, we have this issue of stray dogs. We don't really have that evidence of killing, the dogs killing the black-necked cranes, but of course it's a threat, disturbing the black-necked cranes when they are feeding in the fields. From the human side, the anthropogenic side, habitat fragmentation, it's there. It has been there, but it's mostly to do with the encroachment into their habitat and change in the land use pattern. Previously uncultivated fields, lands are being cultivated now with increasing population. And there's these unregulated land use practices. And at least 2 years ago, there was this huge increase in the infrastructural development, especially tourism related infrastructure development. In the Phobjikha Valley, where the largest number of cranes winter, people there, they depend heavily on agriculture farming, and they produce potatoes as their main livelihood, and that's why they have to use a lot of chemical pesticides and fertilizers, and because of the increasing population and a lot of hotels and a lot of new buildings, houses coming up in the valley, as this discharge of gray and unregulated gray and black water, and of course associated solid waste, increase in solid waste production. So RSPN, of course, with all the partners, supporters, we have been working in trying to mitigate those issues that I have pointed out earlier. And RSPN's conservation program, of course, began since 1986. And we focus in these 5 areas. We consider engaging community as the important important tool in the conservation, at least for the black-necked crane conservation, and I'm sure in other conservation program as well. And educating them, and of course, it's being backed up by research and monitoring and habitat management. Within the research and monitoring of the black-necked cranes, what we do is we map their habitats, their important habitats, their migratory routes, what are their diets, what do they feed on, and then we have this annual census where we engage our partners in the field to do this synchronized counting of the black-necked cranes. We do the counting during the peak, season. That's around January. The black-necked cranes start migrating to Bhutan from third week of October until third or fourth week of December. So January is the peak season, and that's when we do the annual census. And through this research and monitoring, we identify important habitats, both roosting and the foraging sites. And also we can understand their flight routes and important stopovers and their summer breeding grounds, which are, of course, in Tibet, in China. So that way we can easily, share this information with our counterparts in China and Tibet, and they can work on it and see like those important habitats, important sites are being managed properly. So far, through the support of NABU International and International Crane Foundation, we have tagged recently we tagged 9 cranes, and these are from 2 sites in Bhutan. Like I said before, we consider community engagement as an important tool, and through this community engagement, we understand their perception about the black-necked crane and conservation as a whole, and we develop livelihood activities with them, sustainable livelihood activities with them. They actually identify those activities, and then they themselves implement some of the activities, and that way we can garner, their support, their participation in the conservation program, and they take this the conservation program's ownership. We also do a stakeholder coordination meeting at the national level. So these are our partners, local partners, who are mostly from the government agencies, especially from the forest department. So that we, have, synchronized actions. Of course, this is an important tool as well. Through education and awareness, we can enhance our conservation program. Our education and awareness program began, of course, from the Jigme Valley through the construction of this beautiful black-necked crane visitor center, where we used to, until 2 years ago, we used to host thousands of international and regional tourists. But of course, this year and last year, we didn't have any international visitors other than the domestic visitors. We charge nominal fees, which are being plowed back to the functioning of the facility. This facility was built to raise awareness on the black-necked cranes and their conservation, but now it has actually become a conservation hub, education hub, where we not only talk about black-necked cranes, but in general, the environmental conservation. So we have students, local students coming to the center on their field trips and learn about the environment. We work with the, like I said before, we work with the communities, and then basically trying to protect and manage the foraging habitats for the black-necked cranes. Here, This is from the eastern habitat where paddy is grown, and to protect this paddy from the wildlife, the farmers there, they are provided with proper fencing facilities like the electric fencing. Here, the local people are engaged to install those electric fencing. We also have been successfully able to not all, but at least for some of the selected important sites, we make safe flight paths, at least for the local flight paths. One of the successful program has been the advocacy, the advocating the government in bringing electricity into this Phobjikha Valley with electric cables laid underground. So that people are benefited, the black neck cranes are benefited, and you have this the aesthetic beauty of the valley maintained. About 50 kilometers of electric cables have been buried, and of course for those electric cables which have been already laid overhead, we mark them with these flight diverters. And what happens is the birds, they can see this, the flight diverters and dodge the collision. We have had incidences of black neck cranes colliding with the electric, overhead electric cable lines, and then so now we have at least for 2 sites we have fixed these flight diverters. To promote, and garner, of course, keeping in mind the locals, the local people sharing the habitat with the black neck cranes, their livelihood has to be, compensated, or, so that they are not, impacted by the conservation of the black neck cranes. And we promote sustainable livelihood program, such as, promoting ecotourism in those sites. Before the electric, grid electricity was brought into this valley, Phobjikha Valley, people there, they were using pine resins or kerosene, and which were, of course, not good for, environmentally and from the health point of view. So we provided them with solar lighting systems, and we, through the ecotourism program, we engage local farmers, local households in through developing homestays for the tourists, and they have been doing very, very good. It's an additional income for the farmers, and some of the homestays that we developed, they were earning a lot until last 2 years, unfortunately. One of the successful program that RSPN initiated was, along with the International Crane Foundation based in US, was this the initiation of Black Neck Crane Festival, annual Black Neck Crane Festival in the Phobjikha Valley. Initially, it was for raising awareness on the importance of conserving black neck cranes and their habitat. But now it has become an annual event where people, not only from this valley, but within the country and around the globe, it has the people look up to it, and then we have thousands of people, international tourists coming just for this festival, and people in this Phobjikha Valley, they say that this festival marks the end of all the festivals in the country, and so they take this pride and they make sure that they attend this festival, a one day festival, where we have school kids, local school kids, dressed in this beautiful crane, black neck crane costume, dancing, imitating the black neck cranes dance, and dancing in the tune of praising the black neck cranes and their beauty. And we have monks performing max dances and local farmers and local people, dancing traditional folk dances. But the last festival, we had to organize this event behind closed doors. But we did broadcast this event live, streamlined through Facebook. So we have posted this in our Facebook, RSPN's official Facebook page. If you guys want to take a look, please visit our Facebook page. Within the habitat maintenance, of course, other than all those protection of foraging habitats, we also do annual maintenance of roosting sites. Here on the right, we have engaged local people in maintaining the roosting site for the black-necked cranes. What they are doing is they are removing these tall grasses and creating these still standing shallow ponds for the black-necked cranes to roost in. So the black-necked cranes, they like this kind of habitat for roosting, especially during the winter months. And all these cranes, they come into one group and then they roost there. This is their one way of their defensive mechanism, whereby when the predators they approach, they can feel this movement of the cranes can feel the movement of the water, and then they can fly away to safety. We have developed this facility. It's an enclosure for injured black-necked cranes. This is also in Phobjikha Valley. Annually, of course, we have like 1 or 2 injured cranes, sometimes due to fightings among themselves, and sometimes, of course, from the wild predators. This particular crane was found in winter of 2015. The crane was a juvenile that time. It was found its left wing fractured, and the crane was brought into the facility, the black-necked crane visitor center, and people just fondly called him Karma. So the facility was after checking, doing all this checking of its wing and everything, and then it was found that the crane cannot fly for life. So the facility was built, and then now it actually attracts a lot of domestic tourists to see the cranes during the off-crane season. Previously we just used to see live black-necked cranes for 5 months, but now you can go there and learn about the crane any time of the year. And until last year, we didn't know the gender of the crane, this particular crane, and then finally, through the support of our partners in Japan, we found out that the crane was a male, and it was coming to of age of starting a family, and we can see the loneliness. And fortunately for Karma, but unfortunately for the other crane, we found an injured crane not from this valley, but from the other valley, and an injured crane. And then we brought this crane to this facility, introduced the crane to Karma, and we didn't really know the gender of this crane. But again, through that, those our partners from Japan, we found that the crane was a female. So this is the recent photograph from Phobjikha Valley, from this facility, and they have been bonding very well. Hopefully, they start a family, and we will be, for the first time, have black-necked cranes breeding from Bhutan. So let's cross our fingers. Way forward, of course, we will be continuing our focus in enhancing the foraging grounds, especially in the eastern side, where we have seen the degradation of the foraging sites there. Through our migratory studies, we have found out important breeding or summer habitats back in China and Tibet. So by sharing this information with our counterpart there, we will be, suggesting them to, develop sister conservation areas there, so that those cranes, at least, wintering in Bhutan, have us very safe and healthy habitats back in China. Of course, we will be, we still have this area where we need to improve our information sharing among the range countries of the black-necked cranes, and we need to also strengthen our RSPN's conservation program, and the policy, the government's policies, so that we have this intervention, policy intervention in those areas. So I am done with my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from you all. Thank you very much, and back to Victor.
Thank you very much, Jigme.
Wow. Wow, it's really amazing. Wow. All right, and Jigme, would you please stop sharing?
Sure.
Yep. There we can see everybody. Wow, what a presentation, what a burst. Guys, questions? Yeah, Jigme, you first mentioned that the habitat of black-necked crane are decreased, but the population size is increased. Is there any correlation, or why is it like that?
Well, see, the global population has been increasing, and even within the national count, the population has been increasing. What I meant was, we have like 3 or 4 main sites in Bhutan, and some of these sites, the number of the black-necked cranes visiting has been decreasing. But at least in Phobjikha Valley, we have been seeing an increasing number of cranes. So we can, through our telemetry studies, through the transmitters that we have attached with some of the cranes, we also have they also do this internal migration within the country. So those cranes might be also, migrating from those degraded habitats to Phobjikha Valley, where we see increase in the population.
Okay, right. So it means it's not only Phobjikha. In Bhutan, there's also other sites for the.
Oh yes, definitely, yeah. The map that I have showed you earlier. So there are mainly 3, areas where sites where we see black-necked cranes annually every winter.
So could you copy the experience in Phobjikha to other places?
Oh yes, we that's why our focus is now have been for the last 3-4 years. Our focus have been in the east, where the eastern Bhutan, where the black-necked cranes, number of black-necked cranes have been decreasing. So we know that it's because of the degradation of their habitats there. So the last 3-4 years, we have been focusing there in improving the habitat. Basically, it's I have shared you in my presentation. It's because of the foraging sites there, mainly the paddy fields.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Marty. Yes, Marty. Hi, Marty.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Did I say I had a question?
Yeah, because I see your hand. I mean, or no?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, right, it's okay. Yeah, then Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is very, very interesting. I mean, the black-necked crane. So yeah, it's not so many, like so much chance to see most of the cranes around, you know, the world. But yeah, black-necked crane is one of like amazing species as well, and I am amazed like the way you engage with the community, and especially how you control you know, like the foraging ground, you know, for the birds. This is like the good lesson and good experience that I, you know, would like to see and, you know, to have, because in Cambodia we also have saurus cranes. Yeah, but the saurus crane in Cambodia, they don't really, you know, migrate to the other country, but they stay, you know, some point in the dry season, let's say from December to May or June. They come regularly to the feeding ground to the western part of the country, and also some part near Vietnam border and sometime in Vietnam. But in the rainy season, like after May, they move to the northern plain. That's the time you can see them in the breeding pair. This is very interesting. Thank you very much for your presentation. Yes.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Marty. Yeah,
Yep.
next is Scott, please.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. That was very good. I think you were saying that probably the agricultural land is declining as maybe people are farming less land. I was just wondering if any hope for like reserves or parks or that type of thing to help make up for the loss of agricultural land?
See now, interesting thing about the black-necked cranes. They have now, especially during the winter months, they have become dependent on these harvested, paddy fields where they find a lot of food. And of course, most of the winter habitats fall within the protected area system. But within that protected areas, you have settlements where people farm, and because of the protected, area managed, you have a lot of wildlife, and then you have these human wildlife conflicts, and then people, just abandon their paddy fields. But of course, there's this effort both from the government, and we work closely with the government and of course with the local communities by providing them with incentives such as, like I shared in my presentation, giving them proper fencing facilities, or and then incentives through ecotourism, where they can also, they are being incentivized.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I really learned a lot today. Just wanted to ask you, what is the percentage of your natural forest cover or landscape cover for the country, and how bad is the fragmentation and so on that you mentioned? Because it's happening everywhere around the world, and I was hoping Bhutan, there are countries that can tell us that they are doing a lot better than the rest of us. Yeah. So my question is percentage of natural forest cover or natural habitats. Thank you.
So regarding the forest cover, it's said that we have 71% of the area, Bhutan under forest cover. About of course, now traditionally, like in any other, many countries, we have this, how do you say, traditionally respecting the nature and living in harmonies with the nature. But now with the changing times, you have access to all those modern offerings, and the mindsets are changing. The kids, have access to all those information. So, those are the challenges, of course, but to keep, to educate the young minds and all those developing minds. We work with the communities, and then, of course, land fragmentation and all those are there, yes, but at the same time, I don't know, like the government, we have this commitment, to have forest cover, at least 60% of the country under forest cover for all times to come. So to all those challenges, I don't know if I'm confusing you, but with the changing mindsets and all those developments and our commitment in keeping the country under forest cover, at least 60% of the country under forest cover, that's big challenge, but at the same time, the government and the support of the people, at least I feel like, Bhutan is at least doing good for now, but hopefully in the future, maybe, we can do much better also.
Is it all right, Andrew?
Did I answer your question, or did
Yes,
I?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I know it's not an easy question sometimes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mike.
Yes, we have a question from Francisco Enriquez of Ecuador. He's asking what's the global population for the cranes, and what's a percentage for the winter population in Bhutan, and also do the locals catch the cranes for food?
Thank you. I didn't see the question, but yeah. Well, the global population of black-necked cranes is estimated around 13,000, and about 10%, about 5%, so about 600 of them migrate to Bhutan every winter. So they are found across China, Tibet, and some few numbers also go to India, in northern India. And from that, about 600 migrate to Bhutan. The final question was about?
Do the people catch the birds for food?
Fortunately, fortunately in Bhutan, people don't do that. In fact, black-necked cranes are considered as holy birds.
Okay.
And and people, they have this belief that if the cranes land on their land, agriculture fields, they will have a bounty harvest. So at least the black-necked cranes are doing fine. They are not hunted for food or anything.
Yeah, my understanding, Bhutan people doesn't kill wildlife at all.
Well, it's also prohibited by law to hunt any sort of wildlife.
Yeah. Yes, Indra, you have questions. Would you like to ask the question yourself? Hi, Indra. Hello, Indra.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Jimmy. Thank you for the great presentation. I have been to the Phobjikha Valley a couple of times, and I saw the place where Karma and Pema are kept. Of course, before there was only Karma, and the aviary was of good size. But now there is a partner, and looking at the size, it looks quite small. So I was thinking, if Jigme had any plans to expand the aviary, and do you have any plans so that there is a provision for more cranes in the future?
Thank you, Indra. Very good question. And yes, of course, now that is going to start a family, like you said, with crane Pema. The area, the space is we find it like it will be small for them to start a family. So we do have plans to increase the space and have a better, ponds as well for the cranes. In fact, I'm going there coming week to do all those measurements and come back with proper drawing, and then of course we'll be starting to raise some fund for the facility, the crane enclosure. Of course, I forgot to mention the facility, the enclosure for Karma was built through the support of individual individual donors from the country as well as from the international individual donors, and of course also from the institutes. So for the enhancement of the current enclosure, we will be also looking for donors. And once I have this proper drawing, I'll be sharing with the general public to raise fund for building the enclosure. Thank you, Indra, for giving me this question and giving me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Jigme. There are also questions on Facebook. Mike, would you please read the questions?
Okay, from our friend Pang Tak Hong of Malaysia. Do you involve the local community in counting the birds, and how regular do you do it?
Thank you. Yes, we do engage local communities as well as the people from Forest Department. We have this weekly count, but for the annual, the final national count, we do this synchronized counting. We fix a date, time, and we do this counting in all those identified sites in the country. We do that once a year, around mid-end of January.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And more, Mike?
No, we have a comment from Tashi Punso. Can we ask Tashi to ask his question?
Yes, Tashi.
Okay, like 1 year ago, like when I was at RSPN, Jimmy was in midst of doing some telemetry studies on black-necked crane, and I believe that there were some interesting preliminary findings during that time. I don't know whether that has been ascertained or not. So if Jimmy, I don't know whether it's, if Jimmy could share something about it. I found it really interesting, those facts.
Thank you, Tashi. I think I've shared one interesting fact about the previously not known internal migration through the telemetry studies that we have carried out. We now know that there's this internal migration within the country. That's one interesting finding. The other one is about the migration route. So the eastern population within the country, of course, the eastern population and the western population, they have a completely different summer habitat in Tibet. So the eastern population, they fly further away to the northwest of Bhutan, crossing thousands of kilometers. But the western population, the population which winters in Phobjikha Valley, they just fly over, across the border, which is about 120 kilometers. And there's this huge lakes. I mean, those huge lakes. One of the main habitat there is called Bamso. So that's the main summer habitats for the black-necked cranes wintering in Phobjikha. So I can share these interesting findings, but we are not yet done with, we are waiting for completing the 3 years migration of these birds, tagged birds. So we'll have a detailed findings published very soon. Thank you, Tashi.
Yeah, Jigme, you mentioned there's so many visitors, tourists in Fujika, and also they can be problems to the habitat. So how do you balance this situation?
Of course, that's always there. One of the, you can say like one of the threats is through tourism. I mean, the global, I think, wherever you have, conservation areas, one of the threats that you will see is tourism. But what we do is, we make those threats an opportunity. Like I said, instead of having new buildings, new hotels coming up, you work with the local communities, you develop their houses as homestays, so that you don't have new structures coming up in those habitats, and that way local people are benefited, and the environment is as intact as before. At least not so much of damage to the habitat. So that way, I think we have been successful, at least in our focus area in Fujika. Yes. You cannot control the number of tourists coming into the country or specifically to the valley, but somehow to lower the impact, that's how we work. We work with the community, and then we engage the local communities by training the local youth school dropouts as local guides, so that they are given an employment, and then their houses are converted to homestays. Of course, the farmers are not chased away from their houses. They live there and then host tourists, and tourists also, they get experiences, local experiences.
Right, thank you. It's really a big issue. And you also mentioned earlier about the leopard and the yellow-throated marten are enemies to black-necked cranes. But what about dogs, wild dogs? Are there problems to black-necked cranes?
So far, we don't really have evidence, the wild dogs, but they are
Oops. Yeah, we have a little problem, the connection.
threats to the cranes.
Sorry,
I mean, well, the cranes, but they do post threats.
Jimmy, would you please say it again, because we had a connection problem earlier. Oops. Hello, Jigme. Yeah. Guess we. Hello, Jigme. Is it all right?
Hello.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry. Internet connection.
Yeah.
That's one drawback. Yeah, I was saying, like, other than the common leopards, we have, from the wildlife, like yellow-throated marten and foxes, and of course some wild dogs. But one of the increasing threats we see is the stray dogs. And then they are becoming feral, dogs. And then once they taste the blood of the cranes, they will. But of course, until now, we didn't see any. Fortunately, we didn't see any dogs killing the cranes. We do see them chasing the cranes around, but they have no record of dogs killing the black-necked cranes in Bhutan. But these dogs, at least, in the breeding areas in Tibet, where they have nests, they are menace. They feed on the eggs and small chicks. But in Bhutan, once they are in the black-necked cranes are in Bhutan, they can fly away. And then, at least for now, the dogs are not that smart enough, not smarter than the black-necked cranes.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
But these dogs are also learning. So what we do is we partner with the Department of Livestock and try to control the population of dogs, at least in those sites, through trying to bring down the dog population. Not by killing, but of course, through other means.
Right. Okay. Let's take a group photo first before we move on, right? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please turn on your camera? Thank you. Paul, Dana Lee, Julie, thank you.
Paul,
And Jane.
Lai Chin, and Jen Chong.
Yeah, and Dana.
Marty.
Okay. Daylight Chin. And Dana. Hi.
And W.S. Leong.
Right. We can take the second photo later. So, okay, guys, look at the camera and smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. That's our first group photo.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. I think there's a question on Facebook. So, Mike, would you please read the question?
Okay, this is from Omar Saho of Gambia. What has been the local and government buy-in into the community-based tourism program? And also, how do the pioneers ensure that the program is free from elite capture outside official investors' influence? I don't really get it.
I didn't get that too.
wait.
No, but
maybe what's the influence of the local and government into the community-based tourism? What's their participation? And how do we ensure that we don't get outside, maybe foreign investors' influence or other influence into these programs?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And if I understand correctly, well, there's a strong support, both from the government and the local communities in promoting ecotourism. We call it community-based sustainable tourism, taking local community as a core, actor in promoting the tourism, ecotourism. And of course, it's in conservation, it's a very long shot. I mean, and then people don't see the benefits easily. But through this kind of tourism program, where they have immediate benefit, where they can put in some money directly, through those program, I think people are very much interested. And then from the government side also, they do promote this kind of program. And then the international influence, of course, we do have. I don't say that we don't have any, foreign investment, especially in the tourism sector. We do have foreign, especially in the hotels and in the resorts. We do have foreign investors investing in those facilities, but those are like in a minimal number, and and government, makes sure that it remains there. And then it's always the local community in the forefront, who are given opportunity to get those kind of benefits. So at least wherever at least where RSPN has worked so far, we have had a very successful program. We have developed two ecotourism sites in two areas, and though those areas have been, until 2 years ago, they have been doing very good, getting a lot of tourists throughout the year. But unfortunately, of course, this year and last year they didn't see any tourists. So, but of course, there is this local, domestic tourists using those facilities, and people are benefiting. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Well, it's 10 o'clock, and thank you, Jigme, for the wonderful presentation. And Bhutan is supposed to be the happiest country in the world. I guess not only people and wildlife, birds are also very happy. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we have one last question from Rajendra.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi, Jigme.
Hi, Rajendra. This is Angola and Tashidele.
Hey, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation about the black-necked crane. It was the Popchica Valley was my dream destination. Dream destination for a long time. And last year in January, I was there. I'm not quite sure. I met you at your visitor center. I was with there, and then I met a couple of two of your foresters who were participating to black-necked crane counting in January.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I met you there, and then it was great to see that the karma was there. Now I'm glad to see that the karma has a friends. My question is that the mirror removed? The mirror removed from the ivory are still there?
Yeah,
very funny to see that you guys kept the mirror there.
Yeah, we wanted karma to now look at crane Pema, not at himself. So
yes.
we removed the mirror. Yeah.
And one of the worry things that my guide told me about the Popchica Valley, the ecosystem things. The valley is kind of dry up. Is that true?
Well, we haven't really.
Wetland is dried up.
Yeah, through the observation, yes, we do see drying up of some parts of the wetland, but we are doing studies on it. We not yet, because we have to show some evidence. Observation alone cannot be evidence. So we are doing studies on it, and once we have collaborated with the College of Natural Resources. So once we find out, then we can confidently say that the wetland is drying up. But for now, I can just say that yes, through the observation, yes, we can see some drying up of the wetland.
Yeah, it's a great work that you guys have done over there. Thank you, and then RSPN, His Majesty governments. Yeah, they has done really great work with this black-necked crane.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, the white-bellied heron too. Yeah, it was really great work you guys are doing.
Oh yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rajan.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you all for the questions, for the discussions. It's really wonderful. So, Mike, where are we going next week?
Where are we going?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's nice to see everyone joining us tonight. I see a lot of new faces, and hope you join us again next week when we go to Peru with Steve Sanchez-Calle. He will be speaking about the South American Bird Fair in Cusco. later this year.
Wow.
So hope to
that'd
see you guys
that'd be
next.
exciting. Yeah. So maybe next week, we will set up the meeting at 8:50 Taiwan time. So you're welcome to join us earlier. Then we have a short, briefing discussion among all of us. Then we can know each other more. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Jigme, and thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Hope you have a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See you
Bye.
next week. Stay safe and healthy.
Yes.
Stay safe.
Yeah.